Hey everyone, this is Julia from the Missing Manual, and I'm here with Jenny or JCK. And we were just talking off air about, I was listening to one of my favorite podcasts. I love arguing with Chad and Joel on the Chad and Cheese show. I've been on several times. I think JCK, you've been on as well, right?
Yeah, I've even hosted, which is crazy to think about. I got to step in. I think when Joel was in Canada, I got to co-host. So
Nice.
fun
So
stuff.
HR's Most Dangerous Podcast. And I was listening to JT O'Donnell and Joel kind of hash it out around the resume's dead, or is the resume not dead? And it's been something that's been on my mind well before listening to that episode. Forbes, I think it was, just had an article about the resume being dead, and I see content creators talk about it. What's your take, JCK?
It's a good question because, as some of you guys know, I lost my memory in 2020. And when I came back into the TA space around that time, I had been in talent acquisition before, but rejoined after 2020. And I remember one of the things that really perplexed me was how all of our systems were built with the resume at their core. So, like, the process didn't even work if you didn't have a resume. Now, at the time, I was recruiting for hairstylists. And, like, one of the things about hairstylists and with skilled trades or truck drivers or whatever is you might not have a resume in the first place, right? So, like, how can you build an effective talent attraction program when everything is based on this thing and your candidate might not have it? Ignore my squishy here. It's my squishy of choice right now. I'm a little bit of a fidgeter, especially when I'm talking about things that I'm passionate on. So as it relates to the resume in particular, is it dead? I think there's a better question. Should it be dead, right? Like, should we be using a resume to be able to attract and find talent? But, like, ultimately, almost all of our systems are so baked into needing resumes at their core that it would be really, really difficult to just rip and replace and not have it anymore. I know, like, when I was building with Paradox, back in 2020, one of the things that I really wanted to make sure happened was that you could go through the process without a resume, right? So essentially it was building a profile which functioned kind of the same as a resume, but like being able to capture that key information and then be able to transfer that into like a database, right? Like that's ultimately what these things are doing. And so if you didn't have a resume, now based on this conversational AI experience, it would essentially collect those dots and be able to transfer it into the database so you can move forward with it. I'm monologuing, Julia. Apologies. I get a little technical on this stuff, and I just go. You gotta stop me. You gotta rein me in, my friend.
Oh, that's okay. I'm trying to be better about not interrupting.
Oh God, that's not a good thing with me. Like that's just not gonna
Maybe
end well.
people have like a facial expression I make where it can be like without,
Just throw a
right?
squishy at me.
See, you're all
That'll
getting a
work
little
too.
behind the scenes magic here.
Yes, yes.
No, I totally agree. As somebody who has had system administration credentials and understands and I worked in talent acquisition operations for many years. I've reimagined some of these processes. Do I hate that where the resume is today? Sure, because you have candidates using AI to make their resume look like the job description to such an extent that it doesn't showcase the person, the human, but you still have systems that these large employers use that are not going away and they're not changing fast enough. So some format of a resume, a way for you as a job seeker to showcase your credentials, your skills, your capabilities, your potential, I think is still really critical, whether that's a chat that's engaging with a job seeker to get at that information so that the employer can have some of those data points, right? You need them as an employer in order to have legal justification around hiring and who you hired and why you hired, etc. And how the person that you hired, because we all know that you're hiring one person out of 100 or 1,000 that might apply, you've got to be able to defend that as an employer. So you need some of those characteristics of a resume, whether it's a data form that someone fills out or a formal, sheet of paper that you're bringing to an interview. So my hot take is it's not going away because the large employers are still going to need that valuable information. I think what was interesting about the conversation is JT's approach is, as a job seeker, you need to be found. And I don't know that that's any new, but it is true that how you can differentiate yourself is in some of the content that you put out, thought leadership, or engagement that you're having in places where the people that would be hiring you live and breathe.
Yeah, I think it's is it Craig Fisher that says you have to paint your store? So it's like painting your store sign and like creating that like front door to be able to engage with you. I know one thing that I have a tendency to connect on as it relates to this is like ultimately your LinkedIn is not a blueprint of your resume. It's a brochure for why somebody should have a conversation with you. And I think a lot of people kind of to that point of like making yourself found, they don't always craft it in that way. And they're not always specific about, hey, what am I looking for? Right? So actually making that call to action, even in your about me section of like, hey, I'm looking for a role, or I'm looking to build my, network or my community or whatever, like, whatever your something is, being able to be articulate about it and then, build your strategy to that point. But it's just, all of it's quite interesting. When it comes to resumes, the thing that's frustrating for me is it's entirely rear-facing looking. It's only looking back at your history. It doesn't look at potential, right? It doesn't look at what somebody could do. It requires somebody from a snapshot in time to be able to say, oh, because I did this, I could do that. Now, for some people who don't have, like, that might be really strong learners, or they're able to, build onto skills adjacencies or something, like, you can't see that potential on a resume, right? Because, like, it takes somebody who's able to connect those dots in those unique ways. I guess that's one of the things that I just get frustrated with is like if you don't have somebody who can think outside the box when it comes to talent, which I think a lot of us who are more seasoned talent acquisition leaders are able to look at somebody's background and be like, oh yeah, this can be transferable into this place or this place or this place or this place, right? Systems can't necessarily do that. We can't necessarily automate for that, right? And so it goes back to me with the resume is it's an outdated infrastructure for an ever-evolving human, I guess.
I think one of the things we'll probably see more of if I had my magic 8-ball with me is assessments. I think you're going to see an increase in some sort of assessment that might be upfront, or I've already seen lots of technology that is sitting on top of the app or by the application process to do interviews with candidates and help assess them, their qualifications for the role, whether they have a resume or they don't. And I think you're going to start seeing some companies put layers in. There's a lot of tech out there right now doing great things around that space so that it can help reduce the noise and help candidates and job seekers who have some of those inferred skills that might not be in a formal resume or don't have a formal resume stand out against some of the competition.
Absolutely. So our hot take, it sounds like what I'm hearing, is that the resume is not the greatest, but we're not thinking it's going to go away anytime soon. Did I get that right, Julia?
Yep. I don't think it's dead yet.
All right. Well, this is the missing manual. Thanks for sticking with us for this bits and bytes little portion that we wanted to talk about the resume. And
like and subscribe.
Yes, like and subscribe wherever you're seeing this. Absolutely.
Thanks, everyone.
Until next time.